War of nerves continues between the two Koreas, already sending out waste-carrying balloons and propaganda leaflets over the border. The North now releases photos showing items from the South being burned. What are the North's intentions? We're joined by Noerper, President of Asia Dialogue. It's great to have you back.
Thank you, Dami. Nice to be back.
South Korea's Unification Ministry said Monday that it was very unusual that North Korea released these photos showing, burning leaflets sent from the South. What does it mean by unusual? Why is the North releasing these photos?
Well, they want to show that they're creating a direct response to the interception of them. And that message is really aimed at South Korea and the South Korean groups that are doing that, as opposed to trying to inform the North Korean public per se. Hence, they didn't broadcast that widely among North Koreans themselves, whom they may not want to know have such things exist. So this is part of the propaganda back and forth, and tensions are high when it comes to that rhetoric now.
But the thing is, the photos weren't published in the North's state-run newspaper, the Rodong Sinmun, which, ordinary people in the North have access to. Why is that? Why is the North not releasing those photos everywhere?
Well, most likely because they don't want North Koreans to be looking for or find these. By printing them, they would be acknowledging that they exist, whereas the anger is really targeted towards the ROK groups that are sending these, some with DPRK defectors. And so the North is trying to show its anger at this in a way where they are lighting them and expressing verbally their strong opposition to these continuing.
Right, because at the end of the day, those waste-carrying balloons or propaganda leaflets do serve propaganda purposes. And on top of that, the North Korean leader's sister, Kim Yo-jong, made a statement warning of further retaliation against Seoul. What kind of retaliatory acts can we expect from the North? I mean, more leaflets, more balloons? What do you think?
Well, you're likely to see both. You're likely to see the balloon activity continue. It's an irritant to South Korea, and it irritates the public authorities, and it does force them to issue warnings to the South Korean public. So that's an irritant. But beyond that irritant in the war of words, there are other points that the North Koreans are raising, especially in opposition to the nuclear pact between the United States and South Korea and the coordinated activity and upcoming exercises among the United States, South Korea, and Japan. And so North Korea is trying to register its disdain for this and present a clear opposition. What it reminds us is that this rhetoric can get heated. We have to be careful not to take it overboard, and that we need to try to cool the tone a bit, to lower the volume, as it were, so that we don't lead to provocations or some sort of continued crossings at the border, things that would raise tensions and lead to an escalatory effect.
Definitely. But the question is, why does the North continue to choose to send these waste-carrying balloons? I mean, is this because it's the easiest way to tick South Korea off? Why the balloons?
Well, that's essentially it. I mean, it is an irritant. It's foul. It's base. They know that it bothers South Koreans, and so they continue to push. It's also low cost, and it's effective in creating an irritant. But clearly, we need to get back to a position where we're calmer in tone, where we don't overreact to these or overplay them, and in that way reward North Korea's propaganda effort. So it's important to keep a measured response.
Does that mean a possibility of missile provocations cannot be ruled out?
No, clearly there will be some activity that may be designed around the military exercises taking place among the trilateral partners. They're unhappy about the ship that has docked in South Korea. They're unhappy about this nuclear enhancement, and they're looking for excuses to express that. It also, from their perspective, creates a rationale for their nuclear development. So we need to be careful on all those fronts. It's important that we create lines of communication and that we get UN and foreign missions back in Pyongyang so that we have every available contact, in that inter-Korean contacts are very poor right now. So we need those lines of communication to prevent a skyrocketing in the rhetoric and a skyrocketing in the risk. We need to limit that risk, and to do so, opening other forms of communication would be helpful, and getting back to negotiating tables ultimately is what we're looking for.
Indeed, and the Unification Ministry spokesperson reiterated the government's long position to take necessary steps that the North would find hard to endure. Now, what kind of steps? I mean, does that mean more propaganda broadcasts from South Korea?
It may mean that in terms of heightened broadcast and a return to that sort of activity, which is loud and disruptive. But it may also lead to further coordination, of course, with the United States and Japan in terms of contingencies. We've seen that with this nuclear compact. And it will create, again, a firmer reaction. So with the war of words back and forth, it is imperative to tone it down, to soften rhetoric, and to try to seek other partners, be they the United Nations, be they friendly foreign countries. And perhaps South Korea will have to turn to those who are difficult at times, be it China, be it Russia, to try to open those lines of communication with North Korea and create a little bit more of a stable dialogue.
All right, Dr. Noerper, thank you as always for your time and your insights. You have a wonderful day.
Aloha, and thank you.